I'll go to.
You should get a pop-up
You
about
can
the
probably cut this bit, but anyway, we'll record it anyway. Um, yeah, who you are, where you're from, and why you're on the call. Without any long 20-minute speeches, please. Melanie, would you like to go first?
Hi, thanks, Roger. Good evening to you all. Great pleasure to be here. I'm from Bath and I help Roger on Twitter. And yes, my pleasure to pass to Ginny.
Hello, I'm Ginny. I'm from UK. I have been transcribing some of the things Roger's Designing the Revolution podcasts, getting them cleaned up before they then go on for extra special cleaning up by someone very good at English. And I have been taking minutes previously, so I don't know whether I need to do anything for this one, because I was hoping Rihanna was now in that role. So if it's recording, I'm hoping that's okay for today. Is that okay?
We'll just go with recording, and we can go back.
Okay.
Minutes
let's pass on to, how do I say, David?
You're on mute. You were almost there. Let's go to Karen, and then when David is on the go. Yeah, hello, Karen. Can you speak? Oh, maybe not. No.
She's not muted.
No, she's got you might want to go out and come back in, maybe. I don't know. Yeah. Oh, they're all disappearing. Go on then, Eric. You can go next.
All right. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm Eric Schechter. I'm in Nashville, Tennessee, USA. And I'm mostly just here to listen. I haven't figured out yet where my role would be in participating. And we had an Earth Day festival on Saturday here in Nashville, and I handed out a few of the leaflets that I made, but I didn't manage to give away very many of them. So that's all I've been doing lately.
Great. Let's see if David. Is it David? Oh, there we go.
Hey, yeah. What's going on? Sorry for the painful start. Davi Day, like, have a good day. Based in Amsterdam, just, joined, I guess, this team recently. Ginny and Terry have been very kind to kind of introduce me and get me set up. I work in marketing, so I bring a bunch of marketing skills to the table, eager to get started.
Sounds like you're our man.
We certainly need.
He's in already. Yeah, Karen, how are you getting on in terms? Oh no, never mind. Panagiotis.
Giotis?
Yeah. He's got a problem as well. We can't hear you for some reason. How would it be a sabotaging our Zoom?
It doesn't show up as muted, but his audio is not coming through.
What's going on, Terry?
There's nothing at my end. I mean, I'm looking at the profiles in the participants list, and he is unmuted. But
maybe go out and come back in.
That worked for Davide. Was that close?
Yeah, it worked for David. Sorry, is it David?
Davide.
David Day.
Oh, David Day.
Yeah, like,
right.
Okay. Yeah. It's all good.
David
But yeah, it worked for me. I just popped out. Panagiotis, I just popped out.
Yeah, it's weird.
Back in,
it's weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, come Panagiotis. Just go out and come back in, I suggest. In the meantime, we'll go to Terry and then me, and then we'll get going.
Well, I'm Terry Rankin from Kentucky, but living in the Kingdom of Magical Thinking in Florida. And I've been on and off with Roger since 2019. This is probably the deepest dive yet. My primary
Nice.
focus, what's right in my face right now, and I hope we have a chance to kind of talk about this, is the upcoming June conference. That's the big elephant coming toward us.
Okay, so we've lost. No, we haven't. We've lost two people. Anyway, all good. So, here he is. Great.
I think he's on.
Someone else attempt to pronounce the name because I'm only going to embarrass myself again.
Panagiotis, I think.
Yeah. If you're there, feel free to check in. Oh, yes.
He should be good now.
Nope. Yes. That's weird, isn't it? Oh yeah, here we go.
Speak up. How do we say it? Panagiotis? I still can't hear it. It looks
okay. You can put stuff in the chat maybe.
Yeah. It looks like he has headphones in, and he may not.
Yeah, maybe take your headphones out. Yeah, it could be a headphone thing. Headphones are bad. No. Sorry. But we have got someone. So you just put stuff in the chat, if that's all right. God, it's complicated business, isn't it? Alfonso. Hello, are you there? Alphonse. Yeah. All right. From Greece. Yeah, that's great. Thanks so much for coming on and type anything else you want to type, and then we'll get going on the assumption that Alphonse isn't able to speak either. And there's someone else from the US who just disappeared, isn't there? Okay. Yeah, you look vaguely familiar. All right. Well, I've got a little blurb to say. So I thought, which is it's going to be my 15-minute introduction to everything. And Alphonse.
Yes.
Yes. Oh, hi,
yes,
Alphonse. Yeah, you're from Uganda, aren't you? Just remembered.
Yes. Hello, Roger. It's been a while chatting and meeting. Actually, I got the link invite on our email, and I couldn't really trace the flow of the meeting. Perhaps you could really guide me.
We haven't really started yet.
Okay, thank you so much, Roger.
Yeah, great. Okay, so hopefully the other person from America will turn up at some point. All right, so the plan of this meeting, and the reason it's being recorded is because I'm going to do a little rapid resume of what we're trying to do and what the plan is and how people can get involved. And the first thing to say is it's all a little bit like stop-go, sort of semi-chaotic, partially because Robin, who was working quite closely with me, has been ill, and he's doing exams, and so Terry and Ginny and most other people are stepping in, and it's sort of getting there, so that's all good. But so the history, that'd be great. Yeah, send me an email. So the general, I'm going to give a little bit of a resume so that maybe we'll send this to people who might want to get involved, so they've got a little bit of a overview of what's happening. But the general idea is, what is the general idea? The general idea was I was sort of promoting myself in a slightly haphazard sort of way, and off and on for the last few years. And then Robin came along, who I helped to do the mobilization with for Extinction Rebellion in 2018. He's a great guy. And he said, I'm going to do your social media. Then he got everything to boom away a bit. and start making a bit of money. And then, as everyone probably knows, I was in prison last year, and I'd had this bright idea of doing revolution, what's it called? Designing the revolution. And about 40,000 people ended up watching it, or some variation on the theme. Then I did a Zoom call just after Christmas, and 500 people registered for it. So we started getting a feeling that there could or should be an international organization that is looking at some humane, revolutionary future, as you might say, at least in the Western world, and obviously potentially globally. And there's a sort of gap in the market to be a little bit capitalistic about it, because what we have is, lots of, hard left, as you might say, no disrespect, sort of, 20th century revolutionary fringe legacy organizations. And then we have a whole load of neoliberal, NGO type organizations. And then we have this new generation of A22 civil resistance organizations, which are very much focused on, the front line, getting people organized. But there isn't really an intellectual, networking, educational sort of space globally for what needs to be happening in the future. And the whole idea of this sort of revolution theme, I suppose, is a little bit cheeky because it's sort of nicking the word before it gets, re-adopted, as it were, by sort of violent, macho, aggressive, revolutionary type people, and trying to say, actually, revolution in the 21st century is not going to be a true revolution unless it actually revolts against that old style, patriarchal, nasty, let's go and kill lots of people if they disagree with us and then kill each other once we get to power routine, right? So the top line point of all this is to reclaim the word revolution for the 21st century. We'll make it into something else and say, if it's going to be a real revolution, can't be the old style stuff. But also, so that's one major point. And the second major point is revolutions are actually initiated by conservatives in a certain sense, because the revolution is imposed on them by the elites. So it sort of swaps around the frame a little bit, in the sense that the people who are extreme and aggressive and revolutionary, as it were, are the neoliberal elites that are trying to destroy the life world, everyday life for billions of people. So what we want is something vaguely sane. So we're like the conservatives, and historically, small c conservatives have led revolutions because they're opposed to the elites going mad and running off with everyone's money and all the rest of it. All right, so that, I'm sort of saying that first just to hopefully put off people who think this is just another, usual suspects sort of situation. And the next thing to say is that the focus is not on that post-Enlightenment tradition of materialist revolution. It's trying to bring to the fore two other areas of knowledge and wisdom. The first one is modern psychological and social research on what makes people happy, what makes people tick, what makes people be civilized to each other. So it's like cutting edge, not modern research that contradicts, a lot of the dogmas of the last 2 centuries. And then the second thing is reconnecting, obviously, with ancient wisdom and indigenous wisdom, and saying we're all part of the earth, we're all part of one consciousness, and all this sort of stuff in a concrete sort of way. So it's like a pincer movement of the modern and the pre-modern against, the traditional revolutionary sort of situation. All right, and then the general gist is the revolution is going to be collectivist. In other words, everyone's going to have to work together. It's going to be low consumerist because we're not going to have enough stuff. It's got to be non-violent, otherwise you end up with fascism. And really the central concept is balance. Oh, and Karen's back. Go on then, Karen. Say hello, if you can. Oh, you're on mute.
Unmute. Oh, hello, hello. Can you hear me now? I don't know.
Yeah. It's all good.
Okay, great.
We're expanding by the minute.
Okay.
Yes.
I have a noisy location though.
That's fine.
So, hi, I'm from Ohio, and I've been a climate campaigner for 10 years.
Great. You're very welcome. So I'm just in the middle of laying down the ideological law, Karen, as it were, and trying to put anyone off who thinks we're all here to start murdering the ruling class and then murdering each other for not murdering the ruling class effectively enough, and all that business. And we're sort of reconnecting with pre-modern wisdom and cutting edge social research. It's a fusion of the two things. There's a pincer movement against all these silly people that, you know, have been trying to change things ineffectively for the last 2 centuries. No disrespect intended. All right. So there we are. So that's the variations on the theme, the strategy. You know, I'm basically going through this because obviously people want to join. I don't want people to get bitter and twisted, you know, 4 months down the line when you decide we do need to shoot people and you thought I wanted to shoot people and then we all have a big bust up. So it's far better to get that out of the wind, out on the table straight away. So I've just gone through, you know, those are the key points, I think. In terms of the strategy, I think the strategy is pretty obvious. So it's civil resistance plus assemblies leading to assembly-based government. On the social level and on the personal level, it's transcendence of the self, service, trust, respect, self-purification, as is the old word used by Gandhi. In other words, like the revolution isn't going to be a revolution unless it fuses the inner and outer and more profoundly realizes that the inner and outer are the same system. So it all sounds a bit intellectual, but I've just been working a long day, so I can't be bothered turning it into everyday language. But hopefully you get the general gist. All right. If in doubt, email me. All right. So I'm going to move on to the plan. Okay. So I'll first say what the plan is not. So the plan as, and this is still somewhat in formation, is originally, obviously, Robin was going, okay, I'm here to promote you. You know, I think you're a great guy. I was going, whatever, let's go for it. But obviously, I'm not particularly happy with the idea of some idealization of some bloke called Roger Hallam for obvious reasons. But also strategically, like the future isn't idealizing individuals over, you know, groups. So which isn't to say individuals don't have a role, obviously, to inspire people and all the rest of it. But what's more interesting is to use this little, you know, coming together of a few thousand people internationally to create an organization. And the organization at the moment is going to be called Revolution in 21st Century. Going to have 2 directors, myself and Robin, and then it's going to have a central working group, which is Ginny and Terry and 1 or 2 other people, and then it's going to have working groups. So it's going to follow what you might call a standard Just Stop Oil A22 model. In other words, it has a functional hierarchy. Me and Robin are technically the executives. So, you know, if one of you starts shouting at someone, we can, you know, respectfully ask you to leave, and that's the deal. So, you know, if someone wants a nice horizontalist sort of arrangement where we can all argue about how we make decisions, and all this sort of fun and games, fantastic, good luck. You know, feel free to set up your own organization. And, you know, I would be most interested if you, you know, succeed. I genuinely would. So, but the name of the game at the moment is me and Robin in charge. Obviously, hopefully we won't turn into horrible dictators. And then obviously we'll review that system, you know, 3-6 months down the line. So everything I'm going to say is a bit dynamic. Okay, so what I want to say is what we are not going to do. So we are not going to engage in frontline civil resistance activities. In other words, we're not doing everything. This is an ecology-like idea, right? Which is you've got a system and different bits of the ecology do different functions, and they have a semi-autonomous, which is a new concept I like. You know what I mean? It's not like, hey, everyone does their own thing. but it doesn't mean there's one guy who's telling everyone what to do either. So what we're hoping, one central idea here is to create a network of networks around the world for global revolution that's coming along in the next 10 years. So, and as and even when, or rather when, we have social collapse sort of spasms, then there's a culture and there's an organizational framework and there's an ecology that can spring into action and provide leadership towards a humane response to the horrors that, are locked in. I'm just going to plug myself in. I'll be 2 seconds. Yeah. So where am I up to? You can see this is this is not the most polished presentation, but I think it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good anyway. But I'll go on to the details where I've got something about, oh yeah, joining. All right. So we're not doing frontline civil resistance, right? So if you look at the history of revolutionary organization, usually you have like an intellectual sort of educational like network that feeds into the front line, right? And that's what this is about. So it's not like we just invented it, right? Like in the Spanish Revolution, I think I've forgotten what it's called. I think it was anyway. There's a CNN or CC. There was a trade union, the syndicalist trade union, and then they had like a network of anarchists who were clear about what they were about, and they fed in and animated the syndicalist union. So this is a sort of idea, right? That we're a powerhouse, we're punching above our weight, as it were, because we've got some great ideas. Or maybe we haven't, but we think we have. So concretely, what does that mean? So I'm going to get onto the sort of the fundamentals now, right? So broadly, what this means is networking, education, publicity, designing what comes next. So I'm going to go through 7 things I think we're doing. And then obviously all you guys, I mean, I know some of you are already doing stuff, but all you guys can go, that's rubbish, I don't want to do anything, bye. Or you can go, I don't want to do this, but I could do that. And then as things develop, there'll be like working groups, they're doing specific projects, and then we'll see how they potter along. And yeah. So the first one is education, or more like praxis. So Terry, I'm going to bring you in at the end, Terry, if that's all right, to talk about Revolution 21st Century Conference. So the whole idea of this is, obviously at the moment, I'm doing like monthly calls, assuming I'm not ill or something, and there's going to be 100 people on them. And, I'm going to go through this new sort of zeitgeist, new paradigm. Maybe I'll be talking about
If you can hear me, Roger, your video froze.
And we can't hear you either.
They shouldn't have mentioned my name. The FBI might be watching.
Roger, we've lost you.
Yep, you're frozen up, Roger.
Did you turn on the switch?
Roger, maybe you should go out and come in again. Oh, I think that's what he just did.
Yeah, he might have. One thing we might do when he gets back in is if most, or so at least a lot of us, turn off our cameras, that does free up bandwidth at his end.
If I switch from video to a still picture of me, does that free up any bandwidth, or is the still picture taking up just as much bandwidth?
No, a still picture doesn't take up hardly any bandwidth. That's why when you lose the video, you get a still image.
All right.
When he froze up, we could still see a still image of him. But yeah, if your camera's off, then the audio is the only thing that really taxes your bandwidth.
Even if
Some
I have
people, some people will say that's not true, but I've talked to an engineer, and in fact, it is true for now, at least.
Terry, I'm happy to transcribe this. Will someone be able to put it onto YouTube, and then I can get the text off that? Do you know who will do that?
Transcribe the whole thing? You mean
Yeah,
transcribe the whole thing?
Yeah, but it's easy to do. I know how to do it automatically.
I'm sure. I mean, I can put it on YouTube, or I can put it on the shared drive would be better, actually, and you can access it from there.
But if it's on YouTube, there's a little button that I press and it automatically transcribes it, and then I can tidy it up.
Sorry, somebody else is kind of. Everybody's muted except you and me, Jenny, it looks like, except no.
I can hear funny things when I speak.
Terry, I don't suppose that Roger is in the waiting room waiting for you to let him in, is he?
No, I don't even have the active. I don't have the waiting room active. I hardly ever use the waiting room.
Oh, okay. So I wonder what's delaying Roger.
I have no idea. Well, I don't know what the 7 things were that he was going to talk about, but
Well, we want to talk about the plan. We could talk about the plan while he's not there. Well, I, for one, am glad that we're, you know, a nonviolent movement. And the one thing that I have like reservations about is just the efficacy of these assemblies. I've been a facilitator of many meetings, including all kinds of cooperative functions, and anyway, I just I just think so many meetings the decisions are just made by attrition when people get tired and leave, and then it's made by whoever's left.
it looks like Roger's back.
Oh, okay.
Are you live, Roger? You're sitting too still.
Yeah, I am. Sorry about that.
Okay, back to you.
I can see Karen's introducing like new thoughts into the process.
Yeah. I told everyone
what I'll do is
I told everyone if we'll have our cameras off, that gives you more bandwidth. So maybe you won't freeze up again.
Yeah. I don't know. My internet's usually perfect, so it's just one of those days, along with everyone else. Anyway, I'll carry on, and then we can have a go around. People can ask questions and obviously say what they may want to do or may not. And thanks, Karen. I'll bring you in a little. I shouldn't be more than about 5 or 10 more minutes. So where are we? That's my little list. Okay, so these are the things that people are doing. So the first one is education, putting on events, putting on a conference, you know, getting some bigwigs to do talks, and then do case studies, you know, why assemblies work here but don't work there, that sort of thing, to respond to what Karen was saying, and then do networking during those conferences. You know, everyone in Argentina gets together at the end of the conference. And there's basically pathways. So the exciting thing here is like to bring the theory
I'm afraid he froze up again.
Hey, you know, are you okay? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yep. So networking and training. So people in Argentina go, you know, we've been to a few of your events. We want to do various things. So there's pathways towards civil resistance, pathways towards assemblies, and we help to sort of like promote getting those people organized, and then we pass them on to other organizations in the ecosystem, for instance, A22 or something, or some of the assemble type organizations. So, for instance, I've just spoken to some people in Australia, you know, they're doing really interesting things. We're saying, okay, why don't we have an RC21 event in Australia, you know, bring people together in Australia and, you know, sort of get things to be galvanized and on a firmer sort of intellectual basis, as you might say. Okay, the third thing is the promotion of me. So I have my little team. There's people who are going to do press. They're going to try and get me in various newspapers, you know, talking about the general revolutionary thesis, responding to topical events, climate events, and obviously, as in when the big shocks happen, you know, getting me to speak in so much as no one or hardly anyone in the public realm sort of saying what I'm saying, and getting me to talk to important famous people, you know, being on podcasts, all this sort of stuff. And that sort of fuses with the fourth project, which is to headhunt young people, train them in leadership skills, resilience skills, headhunt them to go on CNN with me. They become more charismatic, they get rid of me, and they, you know, lead the revolution, as it were. So the whole thing is like a dynamic process. It's not some hard, you know, nasty hierarchy with me at the top, as it were. Okay, and then there's fundraising, which I haven't really mentioned before, but, you know, there's because I've got quite high profile, you know, people speak to me. So, for instance, this guy Emerson, maybe I shouldn't call his name anyway. There was this guy, you know, who's got, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars or whatever it is. He's really interested in what we're doing. He's looked at the podcasts, you know, he's interested in starting campaigns, interested in funding. So we can ask him for $1 million or whatever it's going to be. And, you know, that will obviously enable to get the whole thing to push forward. But everyone should be aware that, you know, there's loads of rich people around the world who are, you know, shitting themselves about what's happening. And sooner or later, they're all going to be phoning up going, how much money can I give you? Because, you know, you've got a plan and no one else has. Okay, and then that moves on to the sixth thing, which is the website and social media. So that's, you know, getting all these things out and about, videos, enabling people to contact us via the website, come through to these monthly meetings where we absorb people, inspire people, get more of the young people to sort of get a profile on the website, and they take things forward, or people who are doing particularly amazing things, you know, either in support areas or on frontline areas, and yeah, become a big social media presence, I suppose. And then the last thing, yeah, just the last thing, as it were, is building the next civilization, which is sort of could be a separate project, really, but using a sort of Wikipedia mechanism to get people around the world to come up with concretely what the post-revolutionary situation is going to look like, something around sort of 1970s levels of consumption, for instance, and all this sort of stuff. And there's a bunch of people want to speak about that. Okay, so that's that. So just to clarify how it works again, me and Robin are directors as working groups. You know, if there's a major problem, someone could be asked to leave, and me and Robin make that final decision. The other things to say are, please have low expectations, right? No one's pretending just because you're revolutionary is somehow saints or something, you know. High expectations are always a disaster. Obviously, anyone can leave. It's not a cult, unless Terry says they can't. And second, but conversely, no one owns me. So, you know, if you worked with me for a year and you decide I'm going off, you know, off message, no disrespect, but I'm doing my thing, and hopefully I'm not going to go so far off message that people decide they want to leave. But in the last analysis, it's a me and Robin show, at least for the moment. And the last thing to say is, obviously all this is transitory. You know, we'll see how it goes. You might all end up in a heap in 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, you put your cameras back on, I suppose. And but everyone, you know, is very welcome to stick their finger in the pie. And to sound a little bit upbeat, I am of the opinion that this could be a massively influential initiative, only because no one else is doing it. and we happen to be right that social collapse is coming because it's physics, and for some weird reason, 99.9% of the world is in total denial. So, I mean, God knows what they're up to, but it's not that difficult to work out, in my humble opinion. And there will be millions and hundreds of millions of people looking for something that's not fascism, and it's our responsibility to provide a revolution in the 21st century that's got a semblance of humanity, I suppose. All right, so that's the pitch. So I think Terry's recorded it, and I don't know whether we probably won't use that, but anyway, unless someone's super desperate to find out what the deal is. So what we can do is just go round, and you can say, as I said, you can say, well, that's rubbish, I thought you were something else, in which case, good luck. Or you can say, yeah, that sounds mainly good, but I've got one or two questions, in which case I can answer them, of course. I think what Karen was just saying. Or you can say, yeah, this is good, I'd like to put some time in, or a lot of time in, and then I think it would be a good idea, Ginny, to maybe people say, if you don't mind, what your skills areas are and what you're interested in doing, and then Ginny and Terry can make notes, and then we can slot you in, as it were, into the bureaucracy and see how things pan out. But it is a model that can grow rapidly, and we've done this, 5 or 6 times. So it's something I'm reasonably confident we can get moving. All right, so I'm going to start. I think someone called Doe's arrived, so I don't know. Oh, is that? Yes. Maybe you want to say hello. Or maybe not. Oh no, everyone's gone again.
Hello, Roger.
Hello.
Hello. I'm back.
I think the Wi-Fi is working for me.
Okay, I'm just going to go back onto my other Wi-Fi. All right. Yeah, I think, Doe, you were going to say something, but I'm not sure if you are. If you would like to say something, please do. Otherwise, you can always put a comment in the chat, I suppose. So let's go to Karen, because you're in the middle of deconstructing the whole edifice, and that's always exciting.
Well, no, what I wanted to jump to is your wiki-like platform for building the next civilization. We have a network around the world that's already connected, already has computing power, already has resources, and that is the public libraries. I'm a public librarian, and
right.
I have a speech about this that I've done. It was my first attempt, though, but I'll put it in the chat somewhere. I will at some point. No, I can't find it. Okay, but because the public libraries could provide, that worldwide network for people to share what they're innovating, and people around the world could connect with what they're doing, and use other places as models for their location. So that excites me, the building the next civilization part, and then also the education, because I'm a climate science educator.
Great. Okay.
And I've developed adult climate literacy for public libraries.
Right. Okay, so that's great, Karen. Thanks. And you're slightly skeptical on the assembly front.
I've just been in a ton of meetings, and I've also been a consensus facilitator, and my vision of what I would prefer would be spokes and wheels. So spokes and wheels would be like a central big conference of experts in all the different areas. And then, but it's open, it's transparent. People can listen in real time. And then you have other wheels connected by spokes, so that they can have real time input, not for ideas, but for action. Like the central says, what really needs to happen? And then it goes back through the spokes to the other wheels. And some of the other wheels are like, we can do that part.
Yeah.
So more of a
just to clarify, this is not a reversion to horizontally sludge, if you see what I mean. What it is, you know, 1.5 hour meetings with 50 people in the room, you know, groups of 6, 2 questions, aggregate at the end, and then move that into a broader aggregation, as you just said, right? You know, into the center of the region or the nation or whatever the unit of decision making is, and then as you say, things come back down that, you know, sort of direction, in the other direction, and then go back up. But no one's spending 6 hours discussing where the toilets go and all this business. So I mean, we don't want to get into a big discussion around that, but there is quite a lot of sophisticated praxis now happening around the world, I would say. And I think it is quite exciting. And obviously, the main point here is there needs to be alternative institutions of decision making to parallel the corrupted ones that are going to collapse. Because if they're not, then no one's going to know how to do it. So it's going to be like Tahrir Square or something. All right, good. All right, well, thanks, Karen. And have we got your email and everything? Or if people can put their emails in the chat just to be on the safe side, that would be great. So I'm going to go to Davide. And we sort of know about you, don't we? But, you know, you do your little spiel.
Sure,
and,
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Roger. Yeah, so sounds amazing. It's so well mapped out. About me, I sent around to Terry and Ginny a list of, you know, all my skills that I've been learning in the useless corporate world, just selling software, really. I work in marketing, so good at, like, yeah, campaigns and social media and audience insights. There's a lot of there's an interesting research part to it that I think could be has the potential to get grafted on, especially like hearing Roger, like your other thinking about, like, you know, what kind of communities we want to bring into this movement, just because, like, you don't want to replicate always the same networks of people, but you want to talk to farmers, you want to talk to, you know, I don't know, people who are really into prepping, like somewhere in middle America, who have some of the similar concerns. And so I think some of that could be interesting to graft on. But in general, just, yeah, I don't see exactly all the nuance in this thinking, but I'm very excited, and I'm, yeah, just happy to contribute a little bit if I can. And I think with Terry and Ginny, we're working out like exactly how I can help with this conference, and then what next.
Yeah, yes, that sounds really super duper great, because I suppose what I'm sort of, the subtext of what I'm trying to say is this could hit the big time. You know, never say never. It could not as well. But in so much as it does, it's probably going to be quite quick, because if we're, you know, if I get invited on CNN or something, you know, I'm going to say something that no one else has said, you know, for 50 years. And one way or another, that's going to get a lot of interest. So I'm like a lightning rod, and it could be like 1,000 people in a weekend go and sign on to the network. That's entirely possible. I'm not saying it's, you know, I'm not saying it's inevitable, but it's entirely possible. And we need to be able to respond institutionally to that as an organization. And secondly, if there is a big climate shock, then the same thing can and probably will happen, and it's very likely to be very soon, right? So these two things together, yeah. The other thing, Davide, is amplifying the social media side. So as this tech guy that I talked to, he claims he's got hundreds of millions of people watching him, right? So he sort of you probably want to have a chat with him, because he's on site, you know what I mean? And he's what does he call it? Viralizer. He makes things go viral. And we've been waiting for one of these tech guys to come along, because he's had a bit of a nervous breakdown. And basically, you know, he can press buttons A, B, and C, and, you know, spend $100,000 or something, and then suddenly 100 million Americans are going to see, oh, you don't have to have fascism, you don't have to have neoliberalism, you can have something else. And then you've got several thousand people on a call. And the other thing is, we do have you know, connections with the top intellectual people in the Western world. You know, I could email Noam Chomsky tomorrow, and I'm sure he'd reply within a day, which is sort of handy. But obviously, you don't want to like hassle him. You want to choose the right moment and such like. So, but once we've got our ducks in a row, these three things could mean, you know, we've got 20,000 people on our database fairly quickly. But it's one step at a time, sweet Jesus, as they say. And so it'd be good, you know, over the next 2 or 3 months to try and build these teams. Everyone gets to know each other. You know, we make sure everyone's cool. You know, maybe 1 or 2 people are a bit weird and wonderful, and we have to ask them to go and do something interesting themselves. But basically, I'm a super serious person, as everyone should know, and I have built big organizations, you know, 200,000 people in XR and what have you. So there's no lack of ambition here. It's not like, oh, we just want to be a little bunch of people, you know, waffling away on the corner of the internet. Yeah, so, you know, that's the direction of travel, and it'd be lovely to have you on board, Davide, and we can have a bit more of a chat, obviously, as we go along. So where are we up to? I suppose, Eric, do you want to add anything in? You're still umming and ahhing, aren't you, as my understanding? Do you want to say 1 or 2 words, or are you happy?
I'm sorry, whose name did you mention?
Eric.
Eric.
Me? You're asking me of my view of
Yeah, I
things?
was just wondering if there was anything you wanted to add to what you said before. I'm just doing a little go around.
Oh, well, I don't agree with 100% of your viewpoint. I agree with most of it, which is why I'm here. But the one thing I'm interested in is telling the world all about the things that they aren't aware of enough. There are a lot of people just don't know what is really going on. I mean, obviously, too many people don't know what's going on with climate. I think that also people don't know what's going on with government and with economics. And I don't think we can fix the climate problem unless we also fix the government and economics problem. And I think we need to talk about that. And so I put some of that stuff into my leaflet, but I don't know. My leaflets are not very successful, so I don't know where to go with all this. So
Yeah.
that's all I had to say.
Yeah. Well, hopefully with this conference, there's going to be obviously a conference. The nice thing about this conference is because it's online, every weird and wonderful sort of subject can have its own workshop because there's not limited physical space. So I actually did this when I was about 20. You had this like big sort of gathering in a field, and anyone could do anything within reason. So and so it's a similar idea really. So I think Terry and me are looking at getting a plurality of different things, and obviously discussing economics is critical. So thanks, Eric. That's great. So the guy from Greece, who's I'm hopeless at pronouncing. I think, are we still having a problem on the sound? I think we are. I think we are. Yes. So maybe you could just type something in the chat and where you're up to, and hopefully it's not a long-term problem, as it were. And you know, Terry and Ginny can have a chat with you about what you're going to type, I suppose. All right, lovely. So where are we up to? I'm not getting Terry, Melanie, and Ginny to ramble on because Terry's going to talk about the conference a bit, wasn't he? But have you already done that while I was off and away, Terry? Or
not really? Okay,
so why don't we talk about that next, and then we'll go to Joe and Alfonso, sorry, and then we'll have any other final words and wisdom, and then we'll stop because we're meeting, aren't we? We're meeting again at 8:30 UK time, aren't we?
Yeah.
So yeah, if you've got 5 minutes or so, just go through the conference idea, Terry.
Okay, it's an international conference up front, and the banner says "Revolution in the 21st Century." And we're in the very early formative stages, but things are coming together very quickly because, for instance, we've got people like Davide joining us. So the team is growing, the working group to pull it off. We've got 3 or 4 big name keynote type speakers and panelists to be on. I'll drop a couple of names here. Chris Hedges is one. Daniel Schmachtenberger is another who's kind of tentative, but we'll probably win him over. Chris Hedges, I mentioned, trying to get Cornell West. Mr. Fish, who is Hedges' political cartoonist who illustrates most of his work. He's wonderful. I actually have pretty close ties to him, which is a lot of fun. I won't go on with the speakers, but the dates are June 22nd and 23rd. We haven't exactly nailed down the schedule yet, but that's in the works. 22nd, 23rd of June. I left that out, but June 22nd, 23rd, that weekend. And basically, the idea is to have keynote speakers in main rooms and main events, keynote panels in main rooms and main events, but to also have breakout sessions and even separate Zoom sessions hosted by others, assuming they kind of agree to stick within the loose perimeter of what we're trying to do, for all kinds of things, creative things like music and dance and crafts, but intellectual things like conversations with people like Schmachtenberger and Hedges, workshops and training on nonviolent direct action, nonviolent civil disobedience, any other thing, anyone, we're inviting proposals. There's kind of there'll be a form to fill out where anyone who signs up, if they want to do a presentation, there'll be part of the form where they can present their idea for what they'd like to present in a breakout or in a separate Zoom room. So that's just kind of off the top of my head where things stand. Excuse me. If I had to identify the key areas of need we have for the conference, I'd say it falls into 3 areas, and this is pretty much where everything ultimately falls in this kind of effort. Communications is always right at the top of the list. Media of every stream and channel, copywriters, editors, revisionists, that kind of thing to put the content together and make it fly. We also have a second category of what I would call operations. That's where all the logistic things get materially accomplished, where you're going to do it, how you're going to do it, who's going to host the Zoom sessions, and who's going to be the facilitator, who's going to do the tech back work, that kind of thing. Last one is administration. And that's where we track and keep and archive things like this recording, documents that Roger produces or others in the group produce that are relevant. Those 3 areas, communications, operations, and administration, are where pretty much 99% of the work can be classified. And any skills that you can kind of say, well, yeah, I'm pretty good in one of those 3 areas, email me directly. I'll put it in the chat. Just email me directly. Copy Jenny if you have her email, but if you don't have her in the loop, I'll get her in it. And we'll see what we can work with you on and how we can pull together to pull this conference off. It should be a fantastic event.
Well, it's just going to be sort of fun, isn't it? Whether it's, 10 of us or 1,000, it's sort of like, let's just talk about what we want to talk about internationally over a weekend and see who turns up. It says nervously, but yeah, hopefully we'll get it. There's 250,000, maybe 200,000 people on various A22 networks and related networks. So those are that's the main audience, I suppose. And I think we could and should do a press release about it as well. And then maybe it'll get in some of the Western press.
See, right there, Roger's calling for that copywriter.
Yeah. So so we'll see. And yeah, the other thing is obviously this is a praxis orientation. So people, are very interested obviously in Greece. Like if there's 20 people from Greece, they can all meet together afterwards. They don't know each other, and maybe something can be started in that very important country. So yeah, etc. All right, so let's see if Doe and Alphonse are going to be able to speak. If not, we'll wind up, I think. So Doe, do you want to say something, or do you want to put something in the chat just to say where you're up to, and ideally your email so we can contact you? So I don't think, oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Hello.
Hi, Roger.
Hi.
Yeah. I'm not very tech savvy, so I just want to say hello. I put something. I sent you an email just now with my thoughts.
Right.
So I'm with you on that. I live in the south of France. I've seen you a couple of times in London, on the streets, as it were.
Yeah.
And so I'm with you, but I'm not very good
Right.
on tech, on the tech side. So I'm not quite sure what I can do to help, but I'll stay in touch. Okay.
Yeah. Well, you're sounding perfect, like next door, so that's all good. So yeah, if you can say the sort of things you're interested in and or any skills you've got, that would be great because obviously there's plenty to do and a lot of it, a lot of it is just getting on with stuff, if you see what I mean. So that's great,
Yeah.
though, and thanks very much for coming along. And if we did meet, that's great. Says.
What I can do is write.
Right. Great.
I know how to write.
So if you have a public library, the librarian there will help you get on Zoom and book a meeting room and participate.
Okay.
Yeah, great. All right. Okay, so
Thanks.
I'll go to the other person. Alphonse, do you want to say anything in as much as you can speak? So Alphonse is from Uganda. I know him fairly well. Oh, here he is.
Yes, it has been a nice presentation from Roger and the colleagues on this call. Of course, as we talk about this project, the revolution in the 21st century, it's really a nice topic and a nice project, to bring across and orienting how society and systems across different countries and continents should align themselves to. I think from the submission, you find out that there is a lot of work to do to see that this is a success. And Roger and Robin and the team that has been on it for the past months, there's a lot of work I know that you've already done, educating people and educating us on how this should happen. However, of course, maybe some of a few suggestions that I would put across. One, of course, maybe from our side, for us, we live in a country that has a lot of repression. Most of the African countries, actually, they're ruled by dictators. The democracy is broken, politics is broken, many things are broken, systems are broken, the economy is down, the suffering is down, people are dying because of many things. But as we strive harder to organize, many times, for example, there has been a great, communication gap and understanding of this, because most of the times you find out that you want to learn about the topic, how you can actually get involved and engaged, but sometimes it is harder. And I appreciate really that we have. I was invited to this call. I think it's one of the many calls I've attended with Roger, and learning more about this topic. Of course, it would be of a greater interest to bring this in my country. For example, many times I wanted to understand about the humanity project. I reached out a number of times to Robin to understand how this all works, but I know all these are working towards the whole. Actually, most of these projects, like even when you see the A22 network, a lot of work we have been doing, it works towards bringing us towards how the civilization should happen, shaping the civilization in this 21st century. So I think for me, my suggestion would be if we could really often stay in touch, it would become easier to understand. Thank you so much, Roger, and the colleagues on the call.
Yeah, and thanks so much, Alphonse, for all your courage in those difficult circumstances. I've been very aware of how difficult it's been. So I just want to say how much we appreciate what you do. And And it's I think it's a bit of a no-brainer, Terry, that Alphonse and some of his colleagues should be doing a session. And there's a big opportunity for making this conference truly international, I think. And incidentally, I will be sending you, Terry, and the team, a guy called Alnor, who basically used to do the World Social Forum like 20 years ago, which was a precursor to the sort of thing we're doing now. But he's got a lot of connections with grassroots civil resistance movements in the global south. So he's a good avenue through to getting some of these guys, you know, connecting on these calls with global north and global south people, which just never happens as well as it should do, as we all know. So that's you know, that's another big element, isn't it? Okay, so I think that's going to be it. Is that all right, Melanie and Ginny? Do either of you want to say, you know, any profound thoughts? No pressure.
When you were offline for a moment, I did just ask if this went onto YouTube, I can instantly transcribe it, because Robin taught me how to do that. So I thought your summary was brilliant, because when we read the whole, when we've listened to the whole 40 episodes, it's hard to hold the whole picture in your brain, because there's, you know, 40 episodes, but you've just summarized it so nicely, and it's like each time you hear that, it's easier to understand. So I'd love to get that little bit of text. It's a small chunk of text just off this call, and then it can be translated or whatever, you know, people can neaten it up and use it. Yeah, that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Yeah, that's great. And I think you can put it on as a private thing in so much as it's a bit scrappy, isn't it? But we'll do another one. I mean, it's on my list, Ginny, to basically do a 15-minute video about what we're doing, or a 5-minute one even, because, yeah, it's good to just get it all summarized and to update the website on what we're doing. So I just haven't got around to it, to be honest, but I will actually put it on my things to do. Because I've sort of got it in my head now down to a 15-minute presentation, if you see what I mean. So that's lovely. Thanks. And yeah, and thanks everyone for just holding things together, because I've just been super busy, and you know, Robin's been a bit ill, so I really appreciate everything that everyone's doing, by the way. Melanie, do you want to come in? Yeah.
Yes, just very quickly, Roger, thank you so much for an amazing and fascinating vision. I just want to say that if you need, I can be flexible, because I understand, listening to what your needs are, that intellectually, you know, you may need someone else who can give you different input than I can. I'm just sort of sitting here worrying that the level I'm giving you is maybe not high enough. Perhaps you need something with a bit more intellectual, social science, political edge, something like that. And if that is needed, if you need that extra intellectual input to back up what you're doing, then I'm totally flexible, and I would be very happy to work alongside someone if that could be more effective, for example.
Yes, well, I think this is, you know, obviously everyone should know that Melanie is amazing and sends me stuff about every day. A diet of bad news for me to respond to. But the upshot of it is yeah, it's something we're going to evolve, Melanie, isn't it? Like, you know, what you're doing is absolutely key and totally appreciated, as you well know. And at the same time, you know, if we can get this press team sort of organized to get me, you know, interviewed in the Western press, then obviously that's where, you know, all of this is going to synergize together, isn't it? So more people will listen to me on Twitter, and then some other journalists will get in touch. But we are, I mean, I totally appreciate what everyone does, because I'd be dead otherwise, because we're getting about 4 requests a week for interviews and stuff. And obviously some of these things are quite small, but it's only, you know, I should be in, what is it called, the New Republic fairly soon, and all this sort of stuff, shouldn't I? So, you know, we're making our way up the greasy pole. So it is, I think it is going to happen, and the race is on basically to get a really sharp, well-working operation, to work with me, and then bring on these other guys, and so there's 5 or 6 people. I think in 1968, I don't know if everyone remembers or knows this, but there were I think that's the model. There was about 5 or 6 guys, 5 or 6 people that were well known around the Western world, and they were catalyzers. And it can't just be one, right? That's the idea. It should be 5 to 10 people, and we need to find those people and bring them on and say, don't care if you're feeling a bit nervous, you're going on CNN, tough. Do your thing, you know what I mean? Because it's so important, because it's so inspirational to have people knocking around in it, doing their bit. All right, lovely. And thanks, Karen, for your comments. And yeah. All right, so I think that's it. We're meeting again in 1 hour, 20 minutes, I think, Terry, aren't we? To go through our bits and pieces weekly meeting.
Wait, is it 20? I think it's 20 minutes.
Oh, is it 8 o'clock?
Yeah, at 8:30.
Oh, right, yeah, it's 20 minutes. Yeah. Great, sorry. Yeah, it's 20 minutes, not long. Okay, you have to go and have a tea break.
I thought you said 15 or 20, and that's correct.
Yeah. Okay, lovely. Thank you so much, all of you. And yeah, see you again. Thanks. Bye.